Hi and welcome to my testimony video. Today I would like to share about how God restored the relationship between me and my mum, how he raised her from the dead, and how he blessed us both in that last year of her life. As some of you might know, as a youth I got involved with a lot of criminal stuff, drug type activities. As I shared quite a bit of on my previous video. So this one's a bit of a follow-on as to how God restored the relationship that was left in tatters after my poor decisions as a youth. As many will know, if you've ever been involved with a drug or that kind of criminal world, it often leaves family relationships in absolute tatters and mess. And of course, this causes trauma on every side. And whether you play that blame game or not, it's still something that God can heal, and God can bring full restoration and forgiveness in such a place. So to tell this story as a wholeness, I'd have to go back to my youth and just explain to you guys that mine and my mum's relationship were very close as a kid. I was very close with my mum in the sense of we did everything together. We had that real close bond, which was destroyed, like I say, through my really poor decisions. As I became a Christian, this these areas began to get healed. I think as my mum witnessed me change, my attitudes changing from being selfish and from being quite self-centered. Um, Obviously, that in itself creates healing, and of course, God will have been at work using my new lifestyle of change and of being there for people as a witness and a testimony to that helped that relationship start to grow. But this came to a head towards the end of her life, where our relationship got basically back to how it was, and they were bittersweet times. And what started this was it was a trip to Filey. My sister and her husband had taken my mum and dad away for the week. We was invited to go over one of the days in that holiday, just to spend the day with them, have some family time. So we did. Kids came with us and did a lovely time. We spent the day on the beach, playing as you normally play. Came to the end of the day, my mum and dad went up first, up the steep steps from Filey Beach. The kids then followed, and I followed with my bags full of buckets and spades and whatever towels and whatever else you take to a beach. As I got to the top of the stairs, I noticed this lady laid face down on the floor, which is never a nice sight. But then when you realise it's your mum, it puts a deep panic within you. So I dropped the bags, ran over to her as you would. She'd gone face down. She clearly hadn't put her hands out. All the backs of her hands were cut and scraped as she'd hit the floor without putting her hands forward to save herself. And she'd basically landed flat on her face. Her nose was that broken that the actual tip was touching her cheek. Face was a mess. I turned her over. She'd got that unanimated look of absolute stillness on her face, staring. There's no breathing, no signs of life. These ladies, two ladies, ran out of a nearby cafe. explained to me that there were paramedics and could they help. So I said, yeah, please do. They did the check the pulse on the neck thing. One lady looked at a friend and shook her head. And I remember the panic of, blimey, she's dead. This confirms it. And I went into panic prayer. I pleaded with God for just one more year. That's the only main thing I remember praying. To be fair, I was screaming out in tongues, which for you people that know what tongues is, it's a spiritual language that Christians often use to communicate with the Holy Spirit. And as I did that, she gasped, and her eyes became animated again. And I remember the paramedic saying, "Who's he?" And somebody said, "Oh, it's a son." And I says, "I'm okay. I'll just sit with her now." I had the understanding from God that He was going to restore everything. Now my mum didn't know anybody, and I didn't realise at the time. I researched later that when someone's in that kind of a state and they've hit the ground that hard, it often causes quite serious memory loss. God told me in that moment as she was on the floor that He was going to restore everything. So she got in the ambulance with my dad, and obviously the paramedics had been called, and off they went to Scarborough Hospital. I followed my truck, got there before them, which possibly weren't the ideal thing, but when you're in that kind of a panic, you just need to get there, don't you? As I got there, my mum still didn't know who I was, but everybody, I remember at the time, harped on about how straight her nose was. From the time of getting into the ambulance to getting to the hospital, her nose had become perfectly straight, and many of the cuts and bruises had started to not look as angry. I realised God was healing her. Eventually, the faculties came back, and she knew who everybody was, and things were restored. The sad thing about this is that I did get just a year with her. The following Christmas, I'd got a phone call from her. She had breast cancer some years previous to that. I think about 8 years previous to that. So she had regular checkups, like ladies do, and a checkup. She'd had some sort of a test, and the doctors phoned her Christmas Eve and says, "You need to come in to get your test results." My mum phoned me and said, "That's not good, is it? They've called me in." I said, "I don't know, but I'm on my way." So I shot through to my mum's to take her to the doctors, and they told her that the cancer had come back, and that it was everywhere, and they gave her 3 to 4 months to live. That was a prognosis on that. I went to prayer in that, hoping to get victory over that. But the following year, or the following few months, my mum pretty much relied on me. I was there to help her get to appointments and do that end of life kind of stuff. We spent a lot of time together, a lot of time talking and discussing heaven and how things were in eternity. One time I remember distinctly, we were all upstairs. It was a couple of days before she passed away, and we were all in one of the bedrooms in my mum and dad's house. My mum was in the bedroom next door, and we was all crying, and extreme emotional. as you can imagine. And I remember Holy Spirit saying to me, "What are you doing? Pull yourself together, your mum's next door." And of course, if a person said that to you, you'd possibly want to slap them. But when Holy Spirit says that to you, he gives you the grace to kind of breathe, and he empowers you to do what you need to do. So I just, it raised my stature back up. I went into my mum's room. She's crying. She's saying she don't want it to be like this. I said to her, I says, "Look," I says, "you're going to be pampered. You're going to have us running about after you, doing whatever you want us to do. Anything that you want is it. We will make happen. And then you'll wake up with God in eternity in paradise, and you have no more worries." And my mum smiled, the biggest smile. Then we discussed heaven and eternal things, and I never saw her not smiling again right up to the day she passed away. And another testimony that came out of this was that we'd prayed. It had gone to a liver, and they say that that's quite a painful area for cancer. I know the internet, a place that's not painful for it to go, but that's particularly painful. And they'd shipped for morphine into the house and them kind of painkillers. And we'd prayed that she wouldn't have any pain at all. And the Macmillan nurses came to me. I think it was a day before she passed away. I said, we don't understand it, that we've got morphine and everything ready for her. We know that when we turn them over, when they're in this condition, we know when they need painkillers, because you can tell with how the body reacts, the wincing and the jumping. But your mum has not even needed a paracetamol. It's just not possible. Obviously, I witnessed to them about us praying. It was an amazing time. I remember my mum making a statement that she could go through anything as long as I were there, because she trusted me, everybody. And do you know that when she made that statement, that was huge, because there were a time that I wasn't trusted with a door key. There were a time that I wasn't trusted on my own in the house. The restoration that my mum trusted me to that extent, it brought such healing to me. And I'm so grateful of that last year, that last few months especially. Even though it was a bittersweet time, the bonding and the healing that me and my mum received together. And then of course, she goes to paradise. It's incredible. So thankful for that. So just wanted to share that powerful story with a lot of pain in it, but God's glory clearly seen, and God's control and authority clearly seen. Hope that helps somebody. All right. God bless. Bye.